What's going on, guys? Pete Nova here from First Read Fantasy. We got a special edition today. We're going to do a deep dive on a best ball draft. I'm here with my partner, Michael Hoff. Stay tuned. We got a fun show coming, and I'll see you soon.
Me is looking counterfeit. I get done with one and move right on to another bitch. Yeah. College educated, she graduated.
Ah, man, I'm digging that intro. All right, guys. Well, I do want to let you guys know we do have Ernie from Fantasy Football Anonymous. You can follow him on Twitter at Fantasy Anon with a Y at the end. And he's going to be doing some content with us. It's our first stream with him on the channel. Ernie, what's going on, man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm happy to be here, talk some ball, do a little best ball draft, man. It's Saturday. Let's get to it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And, as people filter in, we got ATL in the chat. He said, what's up? What's going on, brother? Excited to do this. Hoff, I know this is your first time with Ernie. I know I did my first show on Steve's channel with Ernie 2 nights ago. So ready to rock and roll, man.
Yeah, happy to be here, but I would be remiss if I didn't start a show with just simply cheersing my podcast brother from another mother, Anthony Servino. This draft, probably not the way you like it, but it's for you, buddy. Love you.
We miss you, Anthony.
That's probably that we'll definitely obviously mention Anthony as we go. It wouldn't be a it wouldn't be a draft or a show without bringing up some tidbits from Anthony. But we're gonna be drafting in the puppy, so let me pull this up really quick.
Yeah, it's going to be a puppy but Superflex $5 entry. So for anybody who is watching now, if you want to join, Pete will eventually do a countdown when it's time to join.
Yeah, well,
30-second clock too.
Well, we'll do it at 3. We'll join at 3:54. Gives us about 2 minutes in here. As people filter in. I know Jamie's here. I know we have a couple more people that just filtered in on YouTube. So if anybody does want to draft with us, we are going to do the puppy but Superflex, the $5 entry.
Jamie, that's my boy.
Yeah, Jamie's always in here with us. He said I'm in the middle of a schnauzer. Of course,
good dude.
Of course. Jamie's always drafting.
He's the man. He loves Roshan Johnson a little too much, but he's the man.
We know that all too well, man. We know that all too well.
Dude, I honest to God, I loved Roshan's profile. Like when he came out, now that they didn't sign Nick Chubb, like I could see it. So you're telling me Ben Johnson is going to invest in the running back he let go out of Detroit, being 1 year into Detroit. Now he's going to lean on Swift that much? I don't know, man. Like, I think one of these guys behind it, and like Swift's injury prone, so I could actually see it. Manungai would be the sleeper, because 7th round pick, Rutgers.
I with Roshan, it's regardless if it's Roshan, if it's Manungai, if it's like they're going to be in a committee. Ben Johnson has always done it like that, right? So I'm not necessarily super high on Swift. I do think he's got a decent floor because he, even with how bad of a year he had last year, he was like a top 10 back, I think, in terms of targets. So he's gonna bring a decent floor, and maybe Ben Johnson can help him. He's just, I've never been super sold on Swift. So yeah, I mean, I think Roshan's a guy that you're pretty much getting for free. At the back ends of these drafts, and he's well worth taking a swing. I mean, guys will sit there and tell you. I remember I was looking at a guy on Twitter today, and he's like, well, Roshan stinks, so it doesn't matter if he gets opportunities. And it's like, at the end of the day, man, like, you're just trying to take dart throws and an offense that could be really good. But we're at the 3:54 mark. Are you guys ready to enter this one?
Yes,
I am ready. I just entered now.
30 seconds or 20 seconds?
30 seconds.
30.
Yeah.
And I need 11 to start, so.
Okay, so that means we have time. It says 9.
Now 10, now 9. Yeah. Now. Now
cool.
8. There you go.
We got our guys here from Dynasty DGen said, look at this crop. What's up, brother? I don't know which one of you guys this is, but appreciate you coming in and supporting us. We have 7 people here on the YouTube. If you guys can go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you do want to draft with us, again, this is the $5 Superflex, the puppy. And we're waiting on 8. So if worse comes to worse, if this doesn't fill in the next like 2-3 minutes, like maybe we could pop out and go to a different one. But we'll figure it out.
I think it'll ultimately fill itself out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Dynasty Degen said a spread of
Hmm.
extraordinary generals, just pure sex.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I love that. Let's go.
Okay.
ATL said I'm in, and our buddy Scott said was watching last night's show when I saw you were live, and I guess he
Mm.
just popped in here. Appreciate you, Scott. Yeah, I think Scott.
I
I think
popped into that show too by accident.
well, I think you're
Whoops.
in. I think you were in the. I got to get you back added to the Twitter group chat because I think you had left, but I think there was a misunderstanding. So we'll get you added back in there so we can keep doing some mock drafts together in there. So.
Mm.
But I mean, I guess while we're waiting on 8, we could talk about some recent news at least the first thing I guess we can kind of talk about. And Ernie, I know you're the Giants fan, so I'll let you kind of start off here. But
Sorry to hear
Jackson
it.
Dart, Jackson Dart
Appreciate
is
that, Mike.
as the number 2 quarterback during offseason workouts, which is kind of interesting because he is ahead of Jameis Winston, which I guess it's not super surprising. You figured it's Russ's job to lose, but what are your expectations, Ernie? Do you think Dart has a chance? Is there a world where you see him starting week 1, or is it going to be something where you just expect him to take over halfway through the year?
Dude, it's tricky because I don't expect the Giants to be good at all. Like, I'm not buying into the Giants' steam. And I saw the clip of the pass rush with Thibodeau, Aziz, and Burns. But it's like funny. It's like against the Giants practice squad offensive line without any pads on. So I'm not buying the steam. I think the Giants are destined to finish with under 5 wins. Um, I Here's the thing. I think Shane and Dable somehow bought themselves more time.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of trying to, protect themselves in the sense where they might not play Dart this year. They might just let him sit like kind of like a red shirt. So now when this season goes south, they can be like, oh, well, we didn't play our guy yet. We were just grooming him and blah, 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 blah. But again, I mean, it's going to be hard not to play him when you're 1-7. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
people are going to be screaming for the rookie to come in or some kind of change. That's New York sports. So, I want to say he plays only because I think the Giants are going to be that bad. I think the record will be that bad where the fans are going to want to see the new kid.
Yeah.
I think Dable and Shane will try to redshirt him for as long as they can. I don't think it will be a possibility. And I just think this year is going to be a disaster. I think there will be a completely new regime next year and a whole overhaul of the roster.
Yeah, I'll give it to Hoff in a second, and then I have something we'll talk about a player on the 49ers. But I think that was my biggest concern with with them keeping the old regime for the Giants is, I know a lot of people, made the claim of, Dayball and Schoen did not, get their guy, right? And so this was an
That's
opportunity
Sean.
for
Sean
them.
sounds terrible.
Shane Schoen. This was an opportunity for them to now get that guy. And they've, people will say, they were saddled with a quarterback they didn't draft. Well, my biggest concern is you allow these guys to stay in the building. Now they spend money on new free agents, right? They had a lot of money to spend, and then you risk them drafting a quarterback, which they did. And now if you're either stuck with one or two things. You're forced to give them an extra year after this one because you're like, it's a rookie. He didn't have enough snaps, like you said, Ernie, or they get let go. And now you're saddling a new GM and head coach with a quarterback that was just drafted in the first round. The benefit that they have is that this was not a high end first round pick. It wasn't a top 10 pick, right? They traded back into the back end of the first, which maybe is a little bit more beneficial just from a standpoint of like capital. They didn't really give up a lot, I don't think, to go back
A
into the
third.
first. Yeah.
It was a third.
Yeah. So that's my biggest
The
concern.
one good like aspect of Shane that like why I think he's good at trade value. I don't think
Yeah.
he's a good GM, but when it comes to like trade value, like he's that's his strong point. But
I'm with you there.
I'm gonna say this, man. Like, I don't think Shane is a good GM. Like all the players he lets go thrive. Like he lets go of Xavier McKinney walk, right? And then he signs Javon Holland the next year. Like how I like, you know what I mean? Like I don't think he's a good GM, man. I think he like. How do you justify where they say like, all right, he didn't get his guy. Dable and like Shane never got their guy. Well, you didn't have to re-sign Daniel Jones.
Right.
Nobody was holding a gun to your head.
Which
You guys were the
they could have tagged him, right? Like they easily could have tagged him and extended
Yeah.
Barkley and just let him test his market, right?
This is why I'll say, if this ends for Shane and Dable after this year, their lasting legacy will be how they handled the whole Saquon Daniel Jones thing. That'll be the legacy. But what I will say to that, and you know, Ernie, I get some of the stuff you're saying about, in terms of letting certain players go, the players you bring back in turn are not of the same value, and that's fine. You're not wrong. I will say though, what I think will fly under the radar is that the Giants the last 2 years have had very good draft classes. They really truly have. But just when you look at the schedule this year, I mean, open up against Washington, open up at Washington, open up at Dallas, home for Kansas City, then home for the Chargers.
That's 0
Then you
4.
get a bit of a reprieve to go to the Saints, and then after that, then
1
you're
and
playing
4.
the Eagles, and
1
then
and
you're
5.
going at the Broncos.
1 and
These
6.
are right, and okay, fine, I'll keep going. Then you're going at the Eagles.
1 and 7.
Then you're at home for the Niners.
1 and 8.
That was good call. Then you're at the Bears.
Niners had a great draft, by the way. First 2 picks were fire. Yeah, but
the whole
okay.
the whole
So
NFC West
Bears,
had a great draft.
Bears,
The whole
that's
NFC
even a
West.
game where it's like I can't say the Giants win. Like I think the Bears are the better football team. So then that's 1 and 9, 2 and 8, right? Who's after them?
After the Bears.
Yeah.
After the Bears, you've got home for the Packers,
Loss.
and then at the Lions,
Loss.
at New England.
Loss.
You finally get to take a breath and have a bye week, so you can call it a loss, but you have a bye week.
So they at their bye at maximum they have 2 wins in my head, like Saints and maybe Chicago. But
so just let me stop you there. The only thing I will say is if Russ can operate the offense like and be like serviceable, and that offensive run game is better with Scadaboo. I mean, they did have their issues with the offensive line. They had injuries last year, and that defense is very much improved. I think they can scrape away more wins than we think, but it's looking at it from a black and white of just the schedule, right? It's hard to pick off wins there, but I think there's a couple games in there that I think they'll probably pull out that you'll be surprised about, because of that defense. And if Scadaboo is what I at least think he is, and he's solid, I think that they end up, I think they could scrape away a couple wins. Now, before we continue,
the last 2 years. Go ahead, go on.
I agree with you. I don't like 2023's draft. 2024 was a good one. Last year's was good. I didn't like Shane's first 2 drafts.
I meant this past year, and I mean this year. I meant
yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Yes, you're right.
We don't see the fruits of the labor yet, but yeah.
Good.
So we have 6. We're still waiting on 6 people. Do we want to try going to the 22nd?
22nd will fill up right away, but we could.
All right.
It doesn't matter. It's up to you guys. I'm cool with saying.
Well, we can always pop right back in here, but it looks like it might take us a little bit. So,
you know what's interesting, Pete, because like you make a good point, and this is why I think these guys are BSers. Where it's like you could have franchise. Let me just say this
real quick.
Yeah,
let me just real quick before you finish your point, which is fine. So to anybody who has joined the draft, we are leaving it, and we are going to join the 20.
That's for you.
Yeah, ATL, that's for you. Ernie, with that said, my man, go ahead. What do
you make sure. Well, before we join too, Ernie, are you good? Are you ready to?
Let me leave this.
Yeah, and then there's like 2 questions in the chat that we'll get to in just a second. If you guys are here, please hit that like button. Joe Carlton, appreciate seeing you, man. I know my guy Dak is in here as well. ATL, Jamie, Fantasy Nerd Boy.
ATL with this traditional 49er question to get into my skin. That's how he rolls. It's part of his charm.
All right, are we ready? Or
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm on 20-second clock. I'm ready.
All right,
you want to count to 3?
3, 2, 1, go.
2 more to start.
It says one more
to
for me.
start.
All right, so that
Let's
means we
go.
got. So there we go. I mean, look, 20 seconds not ideal.
I'm gonna go
Especially
run to grab my beer now.
I feel like you get fucking auto drafted when we draft live anyway with 30-second clock. But
Now
so
you're
20
really getting auto drafted.
Dude, we got it
Yeah.
for
Oh, you
Steve.
pick-
When
you
we,
pick
yo,
first.
the next live draft
Okay.
we do with Steve, we got to set it over under a 1.5 for auto
Giants.
picks.
Yeah. What's your name in here again? Your
So
Epic.
I'm Epex.
Hmm.
Epex 3354. Yo, so here's my, because you bring up a good point, and this is where I always like I see through Shane, dude. I just think he's this pretentious guy. Like he cares more about looking smart than actually being smart. You know.
God, you hate that
Let
guy,
me.
man.
So
Yeah.
Golly.
why would you not franchise tag Daniel Jones and not re-sign Barkley if you were signing Daniel Jones because you thought he was going to be good and you wanted to get a value contract in? That's what they were doing, and they were wrong. So it's just like, and then also, how about this? So then we let these guys come in, they sign them, and then next year after they sign them, they're like, hey, we need to draft a
You're on the
quarterback.
clock.
And these guys,
I got
they
Allen.
passed on Bo Nix. These guys passed on Bo Nix.
First of all,
Um,
first of all, that when I saw it say 1 and you said I'm on the clock and I thought I fucking missed it, but I'm taking. I know so. We'll talk about the Giants later. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
I know I said that I normally don't take the quarterbacks early in Superflex, but being at the 101, like I'm gonna take Allen because in my thoughts, like I'm probably gonna get really good value at the skill positions at the 2-3 turn where I'm just gonna double click it. And that's kind of now.
Fucking.
I do want to. We're gonna dig in on Brandon Ayuk specifically, but we're gonna do it once we get to him on the board. Because I know there's some 49ers questions, and I do want to talk about him specifically. So we'll talk about him once we get a little bit closer to his part of the board. ATL is in here. He takes Jaden Daniels. Hoff with the first skill position player. He takes Jamar Chase. Ernie is now on the clock here. And this is going to be a lot more rapid fire. I'm probably going to freaking I'm
probably helps me because I got to catch a train to go chill with my friends after this. So
I hate that. I hate my pick 1-8. Oh, that's terrible.
You sound like Anthony. Anthony would always be two. The beauty of Anthony was he would be 2 picks into his draft, and he'd be like, "I hate my team," and then by the end, he would tell you why his team is the best team that's there.
That's hilarious.
It was always part of his charm. But
yeah,
let it play out, man. Let it play out.
I think in these other Super, I think you either got to be early or you got to be late. I got 1.8, so it's like.
Well, wait a minute. So who'd you take that you hate?
We took Barkley.
I got Barkley. I have to. I love Saquon. Like, dude, like I think Saquon's like one of the best, if not the best, running back of all time on this Philly team. It's just like, dude, like I don't know, man. Like I don't think he's injury prone like everybody used to hype up, but there's just something scary about him this year. It like feels too easy.
Well, and Fanatic Dak asked about Bo Nix. In short, I will say I have him as top 10, but we'll get to Nix once. Well, actually, he actually just went, so we can talk about Nix. But in terms of Barkley, I take Jahmyr Gibbs over Barkley just because I think they have similar ceilings, and I'll just take the younger player. That's just how I look at it. I love Barkley. I was in on him a lot last year. Hoff will tell you, like I liked him, but there is concern with the wear and tear. Right, I do have some sketchy feelings there, but
so I want to announce.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Can I announce?
Go ahead.
I'm officially rolling the dice on not taking a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. I know we talked about this off air, how often it's tried. I'm doing it. We're going to see how my lineup turns out.
Well, you and Ernie did it.
Yes. So, So we're going to see how that turns out. Jamar Chase and then Ashton Genty are my first 2 picks. And let's see how it goes.
I love the Jamar Chase pick. Genty, I feel like Genty will be. I think he's going to be a volume merchant this year 1. Well, as the Raiders get like their feet under them now that Pete Carroll's there to clean up.
That's not the case, but it's okay.
No. What I mean by volume is like he's going to get a shit ton of volume. I don't think the Raiders are like there yet. You know what I mean? Like they still got to fix their offensive line and stuff. So,
No, I was
um,
saying more so to the point. I don't know if you heard, but when Carroll was talking to the media this week, he kind of intimated that like more than one running back is going to get like a good amount of carries, and everybody was like, "Yeah,
oh,
okay."
I saw that
Like,
tweet. You were like, you're lying or whatever. That was
yeah,
funny. Yeah,
yeah,
no, Gentry's
right,
gonna
yeah,
Gentry's gonna get ran into the ground. I agree
yeah.
with you there, 100%.
Same.
That
All
that's
right,
that's
Pete.
that's a no brainer.
Pete, who'd you get here with your picks there?
So I kind of got lost in the shuffle here, and I took two quarterbacks. I actually didn't mean to. Um,
Hmm.
I
I love
completely
it.
forgot that I we were talking about like not taking quarterbacks, and I for some reason like with the clock how it is, I saw Neighbors and I was so focused on getting him that I completely forgot that like I was planning on double tapping skill position players. So I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of pissed off that I went Drake May instead of getting BTJ or Lad there. So kind of a bummer, but I took Drake May. Now you guys are in a weird spot here where the guy in between you guys didn't take a quarterback.
Well, I
And
would
so
take
the
one.
three of
So
you guys punted. So I was curious to see how that was going to go, but he still punted. And then you have the guy next to you who's really squeezing you, and he takes three quarterbacks.
so
And
I
yeah,
ended up
that's
with
why
my
I don't get that stuff in Superflex, man.
yeah with my third pick. I took Dak Prescott, and if you look at the years that Dak Prescott is healthy, he's amazing. He really is for fantasy. And I think when we look at this backfield, we hear like Miles Sanders is getting touches, and it's like, oh my god, like what is like we long for the days of the Ezekiel Elliott rookie backfield with that offensive line. It was the best offensive line of football back in that day. Pete, you might have been starting college, and I forget, but to that point, there's going to be more of a reliability on the Cowboys offense to have Dak Prescott throw the ball. CD Lamb, George Pickens. I will take him in best ball as my first quarterback after not taking one in the first two rounds. I can live with that. So that's where I rolled.
So I thought about taking Dak. I ended up going Drake May. This is why, like, you look at this guy in the 11 spot with four quarterbacks. Like, I don't think he's throwing the draft here necessarily. But like
Shit,
people
Ernie.
just put too much of an emphasis on drafting quarterbacks. Like, it's there's no need for this guy to have four quarterbacks unless he's trying to force the hand of the other guys in the round. But he's just fucking over his team and making pretty much the other teams that have their two quarterbacks like
Oh,
you're making
no.
us better, like, to be honest with you, because now more skill players are pushed down. Like, I mean, the fact that I was upset that I took Drake May and there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so far, like nine, and then maybe 10 the max up until my next pick, which is pretty
Now,
much now, like, is kind
so
of nuts that like all these guys are going to fall to me here.
Ernie, how did you so people can follow along before it gets to your next pick? You didn't take a quarterback in the first two rounds. What'd you do in the following two rounds after that?
So after that, I went Herbert and Matt Stafford.
Nice.
So I
Oh,
went
I
I
did
went
curse you for taking Stafford, so
Yeah, no, I like I think the that's one of the ADP mistakes on underdog. Like he's going after like Tua and stuff. I'm not in it. Like
right.
I think the Rams are gonna be awesome this year. But yeah, I went two
I
guys that
don't
I
know
think
why the Niners are Vegas favorites to win the division, and that's a Niner fan telling you that. But go on.
yeah, no, I think the Niners will definitely bounce back this year. Will they be
Yeah,
better
but
than
the
the
Rams,
Rams?
though,
I don't know. I think it will be close. But yeah, no, I think either way, both teams are going to be good. I think the Rams are a clear Super Bowl favorite, so that's why I went with Stafford. They got Adams, and Puka, so he should be able to unload this year. And I agree with Pete. Like I think one of Pete's better takes on Twitter is he says Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC. I agree wholeheartedly. I really do. Like Hurts
Yeah, man.
is awesome. Like he's on a good Eagles team, but I don't think he's better than um
No.
You know what I mean? Like imagine if Matt Stafford was on the Eagles, like AJ Brown like would go in the first round. You know what I mean? Like it'd be
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, and Devonta's. I mean, that offense would be fun. I mean, it's still a fun offense to watch. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, so you're on the clock, Ernie Hoff. Let's see your team so far. You got
I'm doing the ultimate kick down the road, but go
yeah,
ahead.
I see that, and honestly, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I mean, you have Dak. I mean, you have really good skill players. I took Garrett Wilson and Brees. I was very adamant that I wasn't going to take Garrett Wilson this year. Um, I'm going to get some exposure in best ball. I don't know how much I will in redraft, just because I think by the time redraft season starts, I think Wilson's going to be like back of the second round. I think he's going to go up. He's already getting a ton of buzz.
Yeah,
Recent reports came out. I was just reading something and it said stock up this offseason for him, right? Was the best player on the field. Don't get
sure.
me wrong, that sounds great and all, but I mean, the Jets don't have a lot of good weapons. So like I'm
If
not stock up for him because of that specifically.
if I could give one lesson, and I probably do this every single best ball draft, and spoiler alert for future ones, I'll do the same thing. I always say when you're drafting some of your top positions, take a look at your bye weeks. 20-second clock, I did not do that. So I got Ashton Genty. I got Kyron Williams, who is probably my, Pete, you know this. I've drafted him everywhere. It's probably my favorite guy. They both have a week 8 bye. So week 8, my running back position's probably going to produce close to nothing. Um, I think it's more so something to worry about if you're in a super flex talking about quarterbacks. That's probably something to more so keep an eye on, but just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So I want to talk about Joe Mixon for a second here.
Oh God.
You guys are on the you're on the clock off. I'm going to start the conversation. We'll dig into Mixon real quick, but you know, Joe Mixon right now is being drafted at least here in the 6th round. In many cases, if it's not a super flex draft, Joe Mixon is being drafted in at least best ball, in like late 4th round, early 5th round. I personally prefer Alvin Kamara over Joe Mixon. They do bring in Nick Chubb, and I'm not exactly sure what to expect from Nick Chubb. I don't necessarily think Chubb is going to, be the old guy that we saw. But I do think it's pretty telling that they bring in, a veteran like Nick Chubb behind Joe Mixon after they already drafted Woody Marks. I think there is some concern. Mixon did not practice involuntary OTAs this offseason so far. Wasn't there in minicamp and was seen in a walking boot. It's not because he's necessarily holding out. So I do have some concern for Mixon, and I'm pretty much fading him. I haven't really taken him
Hmm.
anywhere. I'll go to you, Hoff, first. What's your thoughts on Mixon? Is he a guy that you are drafting? Have you drafted him at all? Like, what are you looking at when you see his cost right now?
I've drafted him, but I wholeheartedly get the concern that you bring up. Like for example, I'd probably rather have Alvin Kamara in that spot, but I at the same time I do think Joe Mixon did great last year. I think that he obviously had the injury. It's very simple to say if you take away the injury, but he was doing incredible. He did well when he came back too. The cost is a little rough, especially with the offensive line there with Houston. But so I have him. I'm not sure how many shares I'll have of him this year as opposed to last year. But yeah, I'm more in line with a Alvin Kamara spot.
Yeah, and I'll give you the floor, Ernie, in a second, just because Hoff, you're picking now, and the Ernie you're going to pick in the next two. When I look at Mixon, right, opportunity share wise, last year 77.7% of the total carries plus targets in the offense went to Mixon. That was 5th in the NFL for all of running backs last year. I feel like that's going to come down, right? I just don't see them giving him at his age unless you're going to sit there and I've said it plenty of times, right? Where older running back on a deal that he's not going to be there much longer. Maybe they burn him into the ground and just get whatever they can out of him left. But again, when you look at what he did last year, 4.2 yards per carry was actually the best yards per carry he's had since 2018 behind a really bad offensive line. And his average defenders in the box was 6.8, which was number 3 in the NFL. So defenses were really stacking the box against them because I think they were trying to pressure, CJ Stroud, which happened a lot. He was also number 2 on stuffed runs last year. 58 of his runs were stuffed, which was 23.7%. So pretty much 1 out of every 4 carries for Joe Mixon last year, he was stuffed, which is not great. And stuff just means stopped at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield, which again, not really his fault. Breakaway run rate, 11th in the NFL per player profiler. Explosive rating was number 10 in the NFL. So, he still has juice, right? He's still a player that has some wiggle to him. Again, my concern is really just the fact that do they give him, that much of a workload again? And they also brought in some more weapons in this offense in Jaden Higgins. They brought in Christian Kirk. They brought in Jalen Noel. Is Mixon going to live up to that cost? And I find myself clicking guys like Alvin Kamara. Ernie, do you have anything else that you want to share on Mixon?
Yeah, no, I think you guys hit on the head. I personally, he's a fade for me. He's 28-year-old running back, so he's getting up there. I think you do got to kind of lean on the analytics a little bit here. And Joe Mixon, like he's deceivingly injury prone. I think Joe Mixon is a solid RB2. He gets the volume. He's on a good offense, but that O line isn't that good. So I think that's why he kind of runs into that stuffing stat that you were saying. So,
Yep.
I mean, I just think where he's going, you could, spend your capital on just way better players. You know what I mean? Like you
Sure.
could probably get like I wouldn't be shocked. Like this is kind of crazy to say, but like I wouldn't be shocked if like you saw like a Jordan Mason have a better year than him. You know what I mean? Or um who else is going after him? Like
You have RJ Harvey is going after him.
I'll take
Kenneth
RJ Harvey
Walker
over
is
him all
right
day.
around him. Yeah, Caleb
And
Johnson.
I mean, dude,
Good,
RJ Harvey and
good
Kenny
mix in
Walker for me is I will because I know that if Kenny Walker plays 17 games, he's a top 10 running back.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna take I know he's injury prone, like I'm gonna take that gamble over Joe Mixon because like Joe Mixon's probably gonna get hurt anyway. So I
Yeah.
might as well go for the upside there. But yeah, that's why it's just like, dude, like he's a good player, like but I'm personally not targeting him. I just think, where he's going, you could just get better value.
Yeah. That's kind of my thing. Hoff, do you have anything else that you want to add on Mixon before we move on?
Not really. No, not really. I will just say I think there's more consistent production than what we saw when he was with the Bengals, but I do think that there is cause for concern, especially with the price point.
Yeah, I mean, in this scenario, he goes ahead of Kenneth Walker. He goes ahead of James Conner, Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson. I think I'd rather Judkins, and I think maybe I'd rather Walker. But the fact that Walker is already hurt, and Ernie mentioned it, maybe we transition to Kenneth Walker here. So, Kenneth Walker right now is currently injured at the moment. This is a guy that has not finished in an entire season healthy. He does get an upgrade, with Kubiak as the play caller, which is definitely a bump up, right? I'm excited to
A bump
see,
up only
if
helps
they
though
are
if you can stay on the
healthy in
field.
that
So
run game. Right. And that's the biggest concern with Walker, right? I mean, his inability to stay on the field. He's already hurt. Like, how many times have we heard, oh, Kenneth Walker, is limited in practice, questionable to play this week. He played 11 games last year, 15 games the year before, and 15 his rookie year. So he's missed a minimum of 2 in every single season, right? And last year he missed the most games of his career with 6. Now, when he was on the field, he was 12th in points per game, 16.5, right? But he does also have a very capable running back behind him in Zach Charbonnet, who goes much farther down the list when you look at guys that are drafted at the running back position. Charbonnet is a guy that, like Jordan Mason, who we brought up before, Charbonnet is a guy that's going just outside the top 100 in many such drafts, where I think Charbonnet is somewhere. I'm pulling it up now. Charbonnet's 115, right? RB 37. And Charbonnet had 3 weeks where he was a top 7 back last year. So when he was given opportunities, he did really well. And I'm not necessarily the biggest Charbonnet fan from a talent standpoint. I know people really liked him, but there is a world, in my opinion, where Kenneth Charbonnet takes this role from Kenneth Walker. I'm telling you, I really wouldn't be surprised. Kenneth
Sure.
Walker again was productive last year, snap share wise, 64.3%. Opportunity share, he was ranked 11th in the NFL with 72.5. So when he was healthy, he did get a lot of opportunities. But you even look at Charbonnet, who had limited opportunities last year. Kenneth Walker caught 46 passes last year. Zach Charbonnet caught 42 passes last year, right? Which is kind of crazy when you look at the fact that he was 38th in opportunity share with 43.3%. So he got a decent 42 receptions is really, really good. And there are good pass catchers in that offense. So I don't know. I go back and forth on Walker. I really liked him, but the fact that this injury is already coming up, like it concerns me. So I'll go to Ernie first because I went to Hoff first last time. It seems like you're more in on Walker, Ernie. Why don't you try? I mean, sell me on the fact that, Walker is a guy that you should be drafting at this point.
If you take Kenny Walker's games that he played last season, right, and you average it out to over a 17 game season, he finished with 280 PPR fantasy points. So he's a top 10 running back. And then the advanced analytics back that up. Like, I've always loved Kenny Walker, especially when he came out of Michigan State. Like, I actually kind of liked him a little bit more than Brees. I thought he was the better runner. And, when you look at his PFF grades, he was like top 3. He was a top 3 graded running back last year. So I think the only thing holding back Kenny Walker is the injury history, right? And we've seen play like Saquon was the same thing, right? You saw the same thing with Saquon. Oh, he's injury prone. I want nothing to do with him, right? And then these players, they finally, they have a good year, they get with the right whatever it may be, and then they're healthy. That's the thing where it's like the only thing that concerns me about him, it's not the talent, it's the injury. So it's like that's why I'm kind of more in on him, because now he's on probably the best team he's ever played on. Seattle's offensive line was kind of messy last year, but is getting better. Like, they have a very good left
Starting
tackle.
offensive lineman retired like week 3 last year or something.
Yeah,
like that.
dude, it was insane. And I just think now, you have Charles Cross, who the Giants should have drafted over Kayvon Thibodeau. He's a very good left tackle. They drafted Zabel. He's the best interior lineman of the draft. Like, I firmly believe that. I think with Kubiak too, there's so much to like about Kenny Walker, where it's like, I get what you're saying, because it's like, dude, like, if he gets hurt, Charbonnet is a gold mine. Like, we saw it last year. Like, Charbonnet, because I had both of them on one team, and I just put in and he filled right in. Like, he was getting me 20 points a week. But with Kubiak and that zone running offense, dude, like, if Kenny Walker plays 17 games, bro, he is finishing as a top 10 fantasy running back. I take that to the bank. Does he stay healthy? So that's my 2 cents on Kenny Walker.
Yeah, I get it. The Kubiak thing is really. I want one of them at least. I prefer Alvin Kamara where they're both getting drafted, which is back to back. We're pretty close to it. But the new system, as you said, right, the outside zone, like with Kubiak, like, is something that excites me. Hoff, any final thoughts on Ken Walker and is he a guy that you're in on this year?
This is a very unexciting point, but this is how I kind of operate in some of these drafts. Is if I don't want to deal with a backfield, if I don't want to deal with injuries, I don't do it. If I could draft around it, if I could take other players and other teams, build my team that way, I'm up in 4 picks, I will do that. So to me, I can't trust the Seattle Seahawks backfield. So I'm going to go another way.
That's fair.
If someone draft wise, via cost has to jump in, God bless you. Go ahead. But it's something I'm particularly avoiding. And I mean, that's kind of it's an odd way out of explaining the point, but it's also kind of a way
No, I
to
think it's
give
a
a
good one.
PSA in terms of drafting. So yeah, that's how I
No,
view
I
it.
think
I
that
just
I
don't,
think
I
that's
just don't
a,
want
I
to
think
deal with
that's a
it.
good point.
It just seems very unreliable.
Dude,
that's
it's very fair, because it's like almost like,
Yeah.
again, like, I'll draft a lot of Kenny Walker on my best ball teams, but I'm one of the guys, like, I don't burn a pick on Charbonnet, and like that will probably burn me, because the only way that gamble is going to work is if Kenny Walker plays 17 games. So that's a really risky gamble on my end. So I actually agree with you, Mike, where it's like, if you are drafting him, you should be drafting both of them, but I think you're just hoping for, with all the new offensive line pieces and Kubiak, you're praying for that he finally puts together the healthy season. You get that monster production from him. The one thing I will say, they drafted, I love this.
Damian
Seattle
Martinez.
drafted a 270-pound fullback from
Ah,
Alabama in the 5th round. That got me fired up a little bit. Like, dude, they are going to at least try. They're going to
He's
attempt.
no Kyle Juszczyk, but yeah, let's do it.
well,
Juice.
the only other thing I would say is
Leading up for 2
in
picks. Let me
terms
see
of,
Peter's
well,
team.
I know I'm on the clock now too.
He's
But
a-
in
Ooh.
terms of the running back room, and with Charbonnet last year, Charbonnet was second in the NFL for running backs on routes run.
He
Kind of a
crushes
nuts
draft.
stat. He ran the second most routes in the entire NFL. Like, I mean, I didn't realize that until I just looked at it. Like, that's pretty crazy. And I think it just goes to show that he has a floor, even
Did you know you
if
were up for 2 picks, or
Walker,
did you get timed out? Or did you
no, I
do it?
queued him. I queued him. I
Oh,
queued
my
him.
bad. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But I just think like he provides a good floor. We saw him catch 40 passes last year because he's out there on third downs running routes. And Walker can catch the football too. But I think even if there's not an injury, like if you take Charbonnet, like he could provide a solid floor because of the reception value, even if Walker doesn't get hurt. But let's move on. I do want to get to some of the comments here that we have.
Dude, one last thing though, like his
Go
like
ahead.
Charbonnet is like built for like a massive workload too. You know what
He
I
is.
mean? Like there's a lot to like about him.
No, he absolutely is. I mean, this is a guy that, I mean, right now, at least from pro player profiler, he's 6'2", 214. So he's low to the ground, right? He's not that tall, not short for a running back either, but 214, right? They say his BMI is 29, which I don't even know how player profiler. I think they might just take that from the actual draft stats. I don't know how much
Probably.
they adjust that. Obviously, I don't think his BMI is getting sent out there on a year by year basis. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you now.
Matthew's here.
Who? Oh, Matt's here now. All right.
Oh,
Well,
man.
before you pull Matt up, the last thing I want to pull some questions or some
No,
comments.
he
down
left. He didn't like us.
Dak said you guys swayed me on Kamara over Mixon
Mhm.
earlier today. I was on the other side of the field, opposite side of the field. Yeah, and I mean, I just look at Kamara. Like Kamara is a guy that back-to-back seasons he's been top 5 in points per game. Like even with how bad that offense was last year, like he's never had a season where he's had, I think either one or never. I don't have it in front of me, but I did write these notes down today. I think one or less 57. He's only had one season where he's had 57 or less receptions. That's it, right? Like, I mean, he's averaging 71 receptions the last 2 seasons. 71 receptions. Like, so I just think people are scared of Kamara because of the age. I get it. Now looking at some of the other comments in here, and then we'll do a pulse check on some of our teams. Cronster said Thornton. He's been getting nothing but rave reviews on OTAs, including Max calling him
Did
a
somebody
bigger
draft
stand
him?
outside of Genti and Betch. No, but I think
Oh,
he's just throwing it out there that he likes him later on in
yeah,
draft.
me too. He scared me. I thought somebody reached for him. I was like, what?
And then Jamie said, I just drafted Just Check in the use check in the 35th round of a best ball bottom of the barrel. That's for you, Hoff.
That a boy,
And
Jamie.
and our boy Scotty said, as a Raiders fan, I love that and him that helps me not feeling biased. Thanks. And I believe that was a comment in regards to this question where he said round 5 rookie dynasty draft, Manungai, Marsh, or Thornton. Okay, so
Thornton.
that's actually why Thornton got put
Thornton.
out there.
Yeah, Thornton, dude, all day in that.
Yeah, I would take Thornton. I don't know,
Marks
man.
is interesting though, because it's
I
like
might take Marks.
because Marks is he's a like a long-term play. You know what I mean? Like that could be the heir successor to Joe Mixon, because like Chubb's just there for this year. Like you made an interesting point. Like there's like, where is he? You know, he's not even practicing. Like, is there something we don't know about?
Yeah.
And they took a running back in the 4th round and a good running back class, and now they have Nick Chubb. So that might be the long-term play. But yeah, dude, Thornton sounds like a beast right now from all OTA reports. He is
Yeah.
freaky, dude. 6'5", SEC guy. Like, I don't know.
Dude,
I could
he's
see it.
fast. He's really fast
Yeah,
too, man. Really, really fast.
burner.
We'll see if Matt runs away, but he's still in the background there. I still see
Yeah, I
him.
don't know if he wants us to pull him up or if he's just
No,
sitting
he.
there. No,
No, he just said no. He doesn't want to be in. That's so rude.
Dude,
I'll
Pete,
text
you
him.
gotta
I'll
make
text him
Christian
privately.
Kirk your man. You gotta make Christian
I'm
Kirk
gonna
your
text
man
him
crush
and say
Monday.
dude,
Yeah.
I do like Kirk. I really just don't want him to burn me if he gets hurt, but
Yeah.
I think Christian Kirk is gonna have a good season if he's healthy. I really do.
Whoever wins that slot role in
But
Houston.
I think it's gonna be Kirk though. I mean, they brought him in. His
Makes sense.
profile is very similar to Diggs. They're very similar skill sets, him and Diggs. I think Diggs is a better route runner, but I mean, I think he's gonna slot into that Diggs role, and Diggs was phenomenal before he got hurt last year.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it.
So let's take a pulse check on our teams really quick. I'm going to go over mine first since you guys are on the clock.
Sure.
So I start the draft off with Josh Allen and Drake May. I actually haven't looked at buys yet, but it doesn't look like it burned me so far. So I get Josh and Drake. Then I have my running back room is Brees Hall, RJ Harvey, Aaron Jones, Rashad White, and Tyler Algier. Wide receivers wise, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Tet McMillan, Roma Dunze, Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Williams. I don't really love Stephon Diggs as much, but just going for the stack there with Drake May. And then I get Christian Kirk at the end so far. And then I took Mark Andrews, who I don't, again, generally take tight ends high, but outside of the top 100 is pretty good value for Andrews, in my opinion. And that's fine to start taking tight ends at that point for me. So that's how my team's shaping up. Ernie, why don't you read real quick your team, and then we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive at the end of the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I went Herbert, Matt Stafford. Oh wait, you want me to read it in order from the draft? Because I don't have the draft board up.
No, don't read the draft or just read the roster.
Okay, yeah. Herbert, Stafford, Daniel Jones, Barkley, Omarion Hampton, Jordan Mason, Jalen Wright, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Trey Harris, Pat Bryant, Jalen Noel, and then my tight ends are Evan Engram and Tyler Warren.
Okay. Yeah, so you took Noel right after I took Kirk, so little protection there. Read off your team, and then we're getting close to the end here. A couple more.
After my next, I got a pick coming up. After my pick, I will read off my team. Ernie's picking now.
Yeah, I guess while you guys are
quarterbacks, spoiler, my quarterbacks are gonna be a problem.
I need to look at this guy. What does this guy Charles Cheese's team look like? Who took 4 quarterbacks to start this draft? I haven't looked at his team yet, but I need to see how it looks.
Boy.
Oh wow, it just jumped off his team.
Oh geez, he just took. Okay.
What's the world gonna do when Pat Bryant is the number 1 receiver for the Denver Broncos this year? Is it gonna go on fire?
So we don't have to worry about that.
I mean, unless Sutton's dust, it ain't happening, bro.
All right. So, do you want me to read off my team? My quarterbacks are okay. My quarterbacks. Again, you take a risk with every best ball draft, and I did. And here we go. Dak Prescott, who I love though. Russell Wilson, who I hate. Joe Flacco, who I like. Those are my 3 quarterbacks. Running backs: Ashton Genty, Kyron Williams, who's one of my favorite players this year. DeAndre Swift, Cam Scatterboo, Tyrone Tracy. So I cornered the market on the Giants backfield on the back end. Not like I'm relying on it, but it's there. Wide receivers: Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, Jack Besh, and DeAndre Hopkins. Whatever, he's there. Tight ends, surprisingly good: George Kittle, Jake Ferguson. So quarterbacks are a problem for me in a super flex. No big deal. Who's worried about it? But I like the rest of my roster naturally, as one would when those are his quarterbacks.
Sure.
So
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I got screwed up a little here.
Did you
Your
get
boy
all the fake 5 times?
Samario Douglas.
There we go. I was looking for Brashard Smith from Kansas City. Yeah, I got screwed up. I really want to take Hunter Henry to get me another tight end for my stack. Tight ends kind of went a little heavy, hot and heavy on this this last round, unfortunately.
So
Well,
you
or
wanted
this
to look at
last
the one
five.
guy's team? Did we look at that?
I was going to, and then it kept dropping down. I actually don't
I know it's a pain in
hate
the
it.
ass.
I don't really hate his team. I don't love it, but it's not as bad as I would have thought it was going to be. It's not terrible. We'll read his team.
We should, in honor of Anthony, our resident troll ATL, we should read off his roster at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll read
I mean
his.
afterwards when we're done. We're done. All right, then the dog is barking. Very good. Good for you. Thank you for that. All right, all right. The best part about barking is you can stop at any time, or I can mute my mic.
Oh, you're on the clock. Oh man. All right, you took Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, I mean at this I said it to you the other night, but like once we start getting to this point of the draft, I generally like to I generally like to take running backs more. I feel like I'd rather take a running back that might be able to give me 1 or 2 spike weeks if the starter's out, as opposed to like maybe hoping that like Hoff takes DeAndre Hopkins. Like maybe a lot of these wide receivers towards the end here, like their roles, they're not going to give you much of a spike, and they're really just fill-ins at this point. So that's why I take running backs usually towards the end.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like going for like some handcuffs. Like Kyron Williams is a dog. I just for how excited Sean McVay was for Jarquez Hunter, who I love because every Saturday I'm watching SEC or Big Ten. So I watched a lot of Auburn this year. Like Jarquez Hunter is a stud, man. Like he really is. Like he's a freak. There's something special about him, man. And I'm not saying he's going to take Kyron's job, but I could easily see him getting some work this year in volume. And it's like, hey, like if Kyron was to get hurt, I think Jarquez would be the guy over Blake Corum because I like Blake Corum coming out, and this is why I have a lot of conviction in Jarquez. Uh, Jarquez is the better player. Like without like you could take that to the bank. Like he's the better running back. He would be more productive in McVay's system if anything happened to Kyron. So yeah, I'm with you there. Like give me these handcuffs that could give you some spike weeks if there's an
Well,
injury or something
especially
happens.
What
Jarquez.
is
I mean, you talk about his explosiveness. I mean, like if he does, maybe he pops 1 or 2, right, and gives you a decent game.
you
Hell
know?
yeah.
What's the sense of urgency? And Ernie, I get what you're saying. You're saying kind of in case of in case something happens, which I totally get. It's always good to be proactive, but there is that sentiment amongst the fantasy football community is like, Kyron Williams, let's get him out of there. Like they want to get him out there last year. They want to get him out of there this year. I think whether he gets a contract extension or not will be the big play here. But like to me, and I'll pull up some of the info later, or I'll start publishing it more. But I was looking at red zone attempts, just total attempts.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams led the field by a pretty good margin in terms of running backs, in terms of in the red zone.
Sure.
Like I don't think he's going anywhere, and I just think it's one of those scenarios in which fantasy football community is trying to wish Kyron Williams away, which is kind of weird because he's still young, but they're trying to wish him away, and I just
Yeah.
think it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, if he doesn't get the extension, then by all means go at it. But this year, Kyron Williams is leading this backfield.
He is.
Kyron Williams will have a ton of more points and a ton of more attempts and a ton of more opportunity than any running back behind him on that backfield. It's not even a question.
Well, and
So-
let's be honest though, Kyron's like people are concerned and they might say, well, he might not go away, but he's not going to get the same, opportunities that he got last year. But
Why
when
wouldn't he though?
well, because they're assuming that his workload's going to be eaten into. But
Yeah, but why? But
But
why?
because they think that he's not as explosive, and I'm with you. I mean,
Well,
I'm not sitting here arguing, but my
I
thing
know.
is,
I'm just annoyed.
no, I know, but I also Kyron Williams is RB12 right now. RB12. He last season was RB7, right? He was 17 points per game, which was good enough for 10th. Year before that was 21.3 points per game. That was good enough for second in the NFL, right? Like his RB12 cost is baked in to the fact that people are concerned that he will lose touches. So even if he does lose touches and those people are correct, I don't see a world unless he's injured that he doesn't finish 12th. Like I feel like that's his floor in my opinion if he is healthy. I don't see even if those guys take opportunities from him. Like the only other argument I can understand is maybe Devontae Adams can take some of those touchdowns away because he is a red zone threat, and they did add it Terrence Ferguson. So maybe there's some regression. He had 16 touchdowns last year, 15 touchdowns the year before. Maybe that's also part of why people have him at where he is right now, which is 12th overall. But I'm with you. And I know, Ernie, you wanted to share something, so I'll let you take the floor.
yeah, no, I get both sides of this. Like, I get what Mike's saying, and it's like this is like one of the more interesting situations. And there's like I get why Mike feels the way he does, but then the other side of it is this, like, because you have Kyron Williams is a monster. Like he's a good player, he's on a good team in a really good role. Like he's gonna eat. Like that doesn't surprise me that he had all those red zone attempts you were saying, Mike. But what I think everybody is like there why the vultures are circling is because like you look at his RAS score, it's not that high, right? There's a lot of his profiles where he's kind of underwhelming. He's a little undersized, right? And there's a lot of tread on his tires. So it's like I think what people why they're not forcing him out, they're just trying to be ahead of the eight ball when it's like I don't know if the Rams are going to pay him. I think they're one of those smarter teams that aren't going to try to pay a running back. And they think, oh, well, because my system's great, I could put any running back in here and they could do the same thing Kyron's doing. I think that's why people, I guess, are trying to find that replacement because they think it's inevitably coming. Now, they could sign him next year, right, to like a 3-4 year deal. And like, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm leaning towards, though, that they don't re-sign him. Like, I like Jarquez more for dynasty. This year, he's solely a handcuff because I don't think anything is going to change. I just think, if anything, if they want to bring in another back to, be a change of pace to Kyron because they are running him to death, Jarquez is definitely the guy. Like, Jarquez could be, the Ahmad Bradshaw to his Jacobs almost. You know what I'm saying? So that I think that's what the fantasy community is looking at. They're not saying like Kyron Williams sucks.
It's
Well,
just
no, they are.
no, it
No,
just
they are.
no, they
There are
are. And this
things.
is the problem. This
Yeah.
is the problem with, and listen, I am in the fantasy football community, but this is the problem is we overthink everything. It's like, oh well, this score is not great, and this is not great. Have you seen his hands? His hands aren't good either. Like, but he's produced the last 2 years. He's been one of the better fantasy football running backs the last 2 years.
You don't
People are
think
going
that
to talk
fumble
about
though?
Brock
That
Purdy's
fumble,
hand size.
dude. I
You
mean,
look at
but
his points on a per game basis the last 2
he
years.
had a big
He's one of
fumble
the
in that
better
playoff
quarterbacks.
game. He had a
I
big
don't
fumble.
in the playoff game. It doesn't matter for fantasy.
Bro, he cost him the Super Bowl. Like they would have went
I
to the
don't give a
Super
shit
Bowl.
about that. If I'm playing fantasy, I don't give a shit that he cost him the Super Bowl.
No, it's
If I'm
not.
a Rams
It's
fan,
not. It's not
if I'm
that.
a
It
Rams
might-
fan, I want to have a word.
Well, that's
right.
almost why people don't want Mark Andrews
So-
because he dropped that pass.
hold
in
on.
the
Right.
playoff game.
Hold on,
He's-
Mike.
Hey,
If I
meanwhile, Mark Andrews, one of the better fantasy football tight ends last year.
He had 11
But you never
touchdowns.
know it.
Career high.
From week one, bookended. From week one to dropping the playoff touchdown pass, Mark Andrews stunk.
dude,
But
but
if you
this
look at
kid,
the year itself, everywhere in between week one and the last week, one of the better fantasy football tight ends. What are we talking about?
all right. I'm not going to
just
come at
saying.
I'm not coming at Kyron anymore. I'm not coming at your son.
Yeah, you don't want that smoke this
No.
year. I'm sorry, man. I love you, but you don't want that smoke.
No.
Ernie, the only thing I would say, look, I think there's some regression possibly coming from Kyren. I think that's what people are worried about. Red zone touches, he was number 1 in the NFL with 77 last year. Snap share, he was number 1. Opportunity share was number 2. Weighted opportunities, number 5. I know Koff will sit there and be like, I don't care about all these fucking statistics and stuff, but those aren't red zone touches, right? That's not like an advanced metric. Like
That's
that's
a
Those
scheme
I care
fit.
about, though. Those
That's just
matter
fact.
because those are points, man.
Right,
Those
but
are
I know,
points.
but I'm saying they add Devontae Adams, right? They add Terrence Ferguson. Like maybe there is some regression. I mean, Devontae Adams is going to score in the red zone, and Cooper Kupp
That's
and
fair.
Puka were also injured, and both of them only played a max of 12 games last year. So they were hurting for options in the red zone. And Tyler Higbee wasn't back until the end of the year. So again, maybe that was why Kyren scored as much as he did. But again, I'm in on Kyren, so I get it. I can see both sides of it, but I think people are trying to like last year it was Blake Corum. This year it's Jarquez Hunter's taking his job. You know, a clock is right twice a day, a broken clock, right? Like it's until people could keep saying it, and then Kyren will walk next year. They won't extend him, and people will say, "See, we were right." You know that they don't love Kyren. That's why I was saying X, Y, Z, and people will just forget that they said, "Well, last year you said Blake Corum was taking his job. This year you're saying Jarquez Hunter's taking his job by halfway through the year." And then now it's, oh, well, he walked, didn't get extended. So like that's really what it is. I think people don't like Kyren, and they're trying to cling on anything, right? Like to discredit him, and that's where I think the frustration comes.
Dude, that's like all over the football community, because you have like the same people that will be like, oh, Daniel Jones is terrible. We're like, oh, give me Dwayne Haskins. Oh, give me Malik Willis. You know what I mean? And it's like, so we're just gonna discredit all the times you were wrong. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, if I came to you last year and I was like, Brian Thomas is going to be better than Christian Kirk, and Bucky Irving is going to be better than Rashad White, would you guys call me crazy? Or would you say, oh, that's absolutely going to happen?
Well, I did say that I was in on Bucky last year.
I know you were. I was in on BTJ. So I get it. I'm just using it as an example. Like obviously if I came to you, Mike, and I was like, Bucky Irving, his profile is a threat to Rashad White, you know?
Sure.
You're gonna say, dude, no, like Rashad's a monster, like he just had an awesome year, right? And then this happens, right? I think that's what people are getting at, where it's like the possibility, like people want to try to find that deep sleeper and try to be ahead of the 8 ball. And I think that's what's going on with the Rams. Because like,
there's no. Yeah, I have Jarquez in a lot of rookie drafts. I'll take, you know what I mean? But that's just hedging, right?
And that's
you know.
That's fine. Listen, that's fine. I get it. I mean, there's more than one scenario in which somebody could say, hey, this rookie, or even not even a rookie, this second-year player is going to outproduce this guy, or he's going to emerge. And in some cases, that unequivocally turns out to be true. And a lot of people do wake up with egg on their face, for sure. But to me, they're just waiting for Kyren Williams to fail too much, in my opinion. And Kyren Williams is one of 5 running backs to have at least 3 games, with 7 or more touches in the red zone. There's not many. He's getting the opportunity in the red zone. There's no reason why that's going to discontinue. All right, the offense is going to be great. And I'm a Niner fan, and I'm still telling you, I think the Rams win the West. I mean, so I think Kyron's still going to get plenty of touches. I will say Sean McVay after this year will have no problem throwing Kyron out the door and then making someone else the guy. That'll be.
Who do you think that guy's going to be? Hold on. Who do you think that guy's going to be?
I don't know.
If you had to pick one right now, Blake or Jarquez, who would you pick?
If I had to pick somebody now, I'd pick Jarquez. But they could just as easily.
So he's the handcuff.
Shiny toy next year that everybody would go, ooh, that's the guy. Jarquez could get the hell out of Dodge.
No, I get it. I'm just saying
that's what happens.
That's why he's an awesome dynasty pick, though. Because I think that's what I'm more excited about his dynasty profile. Because it's like what you said, I think is going to happen. Where it's like Kyron's the guy this year. They are not going to pay him. And Jarquez is better than Blake. So it's like he is an awesome dynasty get. But also, like, you just spelled out, like, if anything happens to Kyron Williams, Jarquez is going to enter an awesome role where he's getting a ton of red zone touches in a good offense. So, like, dude, like, that's a really good hedge to like. You know what I mean? Like, I like Jarquez there, really.
And Debro saying, some of the stuff being inefficient as a runner is, for Kyron, and that might be true. And that's not to say that another running back will come in the next year and be like, God, he's so much more efficient. He's so much more better than what Kyron was. And that could well be true. 1,000%. I just think in this particular terms, Kyron's getting the bulk of the touches this year for the Rams backfield. We will not see a scenario at the end of the year where all of a sudden.
So you don't
Kyron
think there
doesn't
could
get
even be
red
a
zone
split?
touches.
You don't think there's even the
No.
world where there could be a
No.
1-2 punch?
I think
No.
That's dangerous, dude. He's good, man. Dude. I'm telling you, you're
I don't
underrating
get
him
it.
heavy.
I just said it. That just
Listen,
happened.
Listen, we're gonna close this out because we got to go over the rosters.
Yeah, all
Debro
right.
said Corum was a bad prospect, and
But I
yes,
agree with him, because hold
I
on.
agree.
Here's a point about Blake Corum. His own college football coach passed on him, and the Chargers had no running back last year. I just think the
His own
Rams are a
college coach was
smart
like,
team.
nah,
Hold on, they're a
good.
smart team in the sense where you see a lot of teams like they'll draft a player, and because they drafted him high, they're not going to admit he stinks and get a good replacement. The Rams are like, oh, dude, like we missed. Let's get a good backup for Kyron in case anything happens. And I think that's what they're doing with Jarquez. He's a good insurance policy, but there's the upside for more because I think his profile screams that he could be the better player. Like I am really in on Jarquez, especially Dynasty. His Dynasty outlook is awesome to me. But yeah, Kyron's a stud. He's going to obviously put up a lot of fantasy points as long as he's a starter.
Let's read off our rosters. I will say
before
Debro's
you
fair
have a
in
heart
saying Kyron.
attack.
No. I will just say Debro's fair in saying Kyron fumbles early and often. He does, but we'll see.
Dude,
where that goes,
how come when I said he fumbles in the NFC Championship game, you shoo me away?
No, well, I shut you away on that because it's not a stat that matters in the regular season, which is where fantasy football matters.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's not. But it's if there's a fumbling problem, coaches are going to be like, "Wow, we might need to get a running back that doesn't fumble."
Podcasting lesson, Ernie. Next time, tell me he fumbled in week 4, not the NFC Championship. I love you, buddy. But there you go.
I love you too, man. I love you too. This is fun. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, this is awesome.
All right, let's read up those rosters. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Charles Cheese's roster at some point too, because I'm very interested. Why don't Ernie? Why don't you go first and give us a couple names in your lineup as well that you really like that you drafted.
Yeah, man. So I'm my running back room first. Like I'm gonna go with Hamden and Jordan Mason. Those are two guys I particularly love this year. I love Omarion's profile. I love his situation. I think the Chargers are going to absolutely pound the football. I think we know the identity of the Chargers. I think it speaks volume that they took a running back in the first round. A lot of people are worried about Najee, but if you notice, they signed Najee before the draft. So I think Najee was just insurance and a running back to have in case they didn't get a running back in the draft, and they have a guy that they could lean on because, all the other running backs they had, Dobbins, Gus Edwards, kind of injury prone. I love Jordan Mason, dude. He's the running back in the Vikings backfield I'm targeting. I love the value. I think he's going to be like the goal line back, the David Montgomery to Aaron Jones's Gibbs. But there's the upside of, again, you kind of got to try to forecast this. Like Aaron Jones is 30, and he's an injury prone player. He's a dog. We all love Aaron Jones, but that's the reality of it. And if Aaron Jones goes down, Jordan Mason is probably like a solid RB1. My receiver room, I took a bunch, so I'm gonna go with Jalen Waddle and Trey Harris. So I love Waddle this year. I think Waddle's gonna have a monster season. I think he's gonna be the player we saw like 2 years ago. Last year, I think it wasn't really him either. I think it was more of Tua was hurt and it was a weird year for the Dolphins. Like you saw that with A-Chain. Like A-Chain's points per game with Tua and without Tua is kind of crazy. So their whole offense is obviously relying on Tua. So that's the scary part. But, there's a lot of drama going on with Tyreek Hill. He is getting older. And So I love Waddle this year. I think he could definitely crush his ADP. And then Trey Harris. Trey Harris is one of my favorite receivers. Like, I think being Herbert's X, I think like this is a bold claim. I think he could be one of the rookie receivers that eclipses 1,000 yards this year. I really do. I think he's going to, you look when Herbert had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, right? You have your slot, your big X. I think you're going to see the same thing with Ladd and Trey Harris. I think Trey Harris has a monster year. I think he's going to get way more targets than people are thinking. Really one of the more underrated college football wide receivers from this draft. A lot of people would make the argument that he would have been a first round pick if he didn't get hurt. So again, it's just I like the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert. I love Trey Harris. There's too many stars aligning here for me to ignore. And then, yeah, tight end room. I went Evan Engram and Tyler Warren. I love Evan Engram this year, Pete. I think he could be the dark horse, best receiver for the Broncos this year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to like you look at Evan Engram, his best year, and that was when he left the Giants and he went to Jacksonville and he was in his best scenario with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. Probably he was the tight end 2 in fantasy and when he had like a million catches. Now you're even in a better team with a better coach and Bo Nix. Like, dude, sign me up. So if Evan Engram doesn't go down, I think he has a monster year. I would not be shocked if he finishes a top 5 tight end. And then, yeah, Tyler Warren, again, a lot of people, they're out on Daniel Jones. I'm not out on Daniel Jones. He's the quarterback because I took Herbert, Stafford, and Jones. I'll talk about Jones before I'm done. But yeah, I think Daniel Jones is looking really good. I think he's going to continue that trend of Giants that leave the Giants and they go to a new team and they have almost like a breakout year. And, you look at Barkley, you look at McKinney. I think solid player, really, really bad situation. And now he's with Shane Steichen, good offensive line, good weapons. I think Tyler Warren is a stone throw from Brock Bowers in terms of like pedigree. So I think Tyler Warren could be a superstar. I think Jones is going to play better in Indianapolis, so I'm more bullish on that offense. And then, yeah, Daniel Jones, he was the third quarterback I took. I think people are sleeping on him. I think he's a good value in fantasy football this year because Anthony Richardson, the way he burned all of us last year, and now he's already hurt. I think Daniel Jones is the guy, and with that rushing upside and the layout the Colts have, I think he could be a really, really good value. But again, he's my QB3. Like I have him behind Herbert and Stafford. So if I was right on my Daniel Jones being like, a sleeper this year, then my quarterback room is bumping. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you got some good stacks. You stacked your team pretty well.
I didn't even mean to do that, dude. I was looking at that at the end too. I got some decent stacks there. But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Hoff, give us your team, man.
I will tell you, I took this draft. I picked up $5 and I took a lighter and I lit up $5. That's what I did. I gambled on the quarterback room. I'll tell you, the rest of my team is great. My quarterback room is okay. Let's just cut to the foreplay. Let's just do it. Dak Prescott, whom I love though this year. Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco. I'm fucked. So there's that. I have to bank on Joe Flacco being capable enough to start a good amount of time. I personally don't have any faith in Russell Wilson, so we'll leave it at that. My running backs, this is where it gets pretty.
I don't blame you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Ashton Genty, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift. I did corner the market on the Giants backfield with Cam Scatterboo, Tyrone Tracy, and I took Kareem Hunt, who I personally like taking late because I think there's some value there for some, in terms of best ball at least, in terms of some boom games. After that, wide receivers, Jamar Chase, can't go wrong there. Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, Jack Besh, DeAndre Hopkins, okay. Jalen McMillan, who I still believe in, even though it's now crowded there in that wide receiver field there in Tampa Bay. And I will say the one pick that I did not plan to make, I was kind of auto picked here. Keenan Allen winds up as the final wide receiver on my
I
team.
think that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine too. Just wasn't something I planned. Tight ends, I will say this. So I did take George Kittle, which honest to God, being as ballsy as I was to not take quarterbacks early and still take George Kittle, I mean, reckless, ballsy, whatever, but I like it. I did take Jake Ferguson after that. And one thing I will say that I've noticed, this is the one thing I'll spend some time on, is post NFL draft. Cole Kmet is lasting very long. And in terms of best ball drafts, and I know Matt, I see you behind the scenes. You're shaking your head. Matt, we can have a conversation about this off air whenever you like. I'm just saying, in terms of best ball, that's why I like it in best ball, because I don't have to worry about when Cole Kmet's going to be relevant. I just know there's going to be that week where Cole Kmet just, in the first half gets 4 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown, and he's made his
I'm
day.
100% with you, man.
So
I'm with
I'm
you.
just saying, just saying, Matt. No, thank you, Matt. I'm just saying, I think when you're drafting Cole Kmet, all right, I'll end it with this. When you were drafting Cole Kmet last year, you were drafting him as probably your first or second tight end, depending on how long you waited at the position. He is now my third tight end. He's my last line of defense. So if I'm waiting on 1 week, I'm cool with it. So Cole Kmet, my last tight end. That's how I am my team. So
Look, I'll say this: the Cole Kmet thing is fine, especially it's your last pick. And
redraft, I won't touch the guy.
look,
Redraft, I won't touch the guy.
I talked about it with Loveland though, and I'm not touching him in redraft either. But
Yeah.
I mean, with Loveland, like there's a chance he's not ready for camp. Like that's already been put out there.
That
the
is
open.
out there.
And
he's
it's a
injury
shoulder
prone.
injury. Yeah,
He's
well,
injury prone.
Well,
Damn
he's
it, Matt,
he's
take your
got the
notes.
shoulder.
Jesus.
He did the surgery, and then at the end of the day, like if he's not getting those reps with Caleb is working year 2 in a new system right now, and he's building chemistry again with DJ Moore, with Rome Odunze. Both rookies that they drafted high on the offensive side of the football are not practicing right now. So there is a world. I mean, and on top of it, Ben Johnson likes to use 2 tight ends, right? So Kmet is going to be on the field. If Loveland is this really, really great player, there's a possibility that he is, heavily looked at on the defensive side of the ball, and it opens up things for Kmet. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's a bad call. I think if you're banking on the fact that there's a chance Loveland has a slow start and you like what Ben Johnson can do for tight ends, everyone says with Laporta, then Kmet could be the guy for the first half of the season while Loveland is a slow starter, given that he's getting late start to camp.
I do have to run. I had to catch a train. I'm going to exit the studio. Love you
All right.
guys.
See you later.
Read it
Later, Mike.
Later.
All right. Yeah, my team. I went Josh Allen. I went Drake May. So I took 2 quarterbacks. I didn't feel the need to take a third. I'm fine
Your
with
quarterback. Your quarterback
Yeah.
room is gross. And by the way, dude, I want nothing to do with Loveland before you dive into your team. Like I'll wear that if I'm wrong. I want nothing to do with that player. Nothing.
Well, I want him in Dynasty, but redraft this year, I just don't care for him. I mean, there's a world where DJ Moore and Kmet are not there after this year, and I could certainly see it. But the worry about not having a third quarterback is really just injuries, right? I mean, Drake May and Josh Allen both run around a lot, so I do worry there could be a week that one of them gets down.
Dude, that's a dirty. I love your quarterback room there. That's a great room.
Well, and then I take Brees, I take RJ Harvey, I take Aaron Jones, I take Rashad White, who I again, I'm not in love with Rashad White, the player, but I mean, him and Bucky both had 50 plus targets last year. And Rashad White was in the top 5, I believe, in routes run last year for the running back position. So like he's going to get on the field on third downs. Yeah. Bucky does still have issues as a pass blocker. I don't think Rashad White's going to give me spike weeks, but he's going to be a guy that's going to catch the football and give you a solid floor, in my opinion. I take Algier and DJ Giddens just because Algier seems to be a guy that's still involved in this offense, and they don't really have anybody behind Algier and Bijan. So if Bijan does get hurt, I'll take Algier. I know they like him. Yeah, and then DJ Giddens is the same thing. I look at it like they're not going to rotate backs, but if Taylor gets hurt, Giddens is going to be in a workhorse role. I like Brashard Smith. I like taking a chance on him there. And Taj Brooks, so I take a chance on 3 rookies at the end. Receivers, Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Tet, Rome Odunze. So I love my top 4 guys there. And then I shifted to running backs after, which is what I told you my strategy was going to be initially, because that running back dead zone, the wide receiver dead zone starts to kind of hit right after Dunze. I get Diggs and Williams, Kyle Williams just for the stack with Drake May. I go Christian Kirk, and then tight end wise, I go Mark Andrews, Terrence Ferguson, and Elijah Arroyo. I did want
Ooh.
Gadsden. You did take Gadsden from me at the end of the draft, which I wasn't necessarily in love with, but
Sorry, brother. You
that's
should,
how
dude.
it
Yeah, I
goes.
would have went a different sleeper. I have a bunch of sleepers. You could have told me, bro. I would have left them
Oh
for.
no, 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 no. We don't do that
That's
here.
my
We don't do
boy,
that
though,
here.
dude. It's dangerous, a fifth round tight end, but like, dude, like, I think it could be the anomaly where like a fifth round, a day 3 tight end actually plays.
I'm not going to draft him in best ball, but in redraft, like I want some high variance tight ends, and he's a very athletic player. So I think there's a world where he gives you maybe 1 or 2 weeks where there's a spike. And I think they want a good tight end in this offense. They wanted Evan Ingram, right? Evan Ingram went to Denver. They signed Tyler Conklin and they still have Disley. Like they need an athletic tight end. And I think he fits that mold. So that's kind of where we're at, but that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know we just spiked again where there's a couple more people that just rolled in on YouTube. Feel free to check out our new videos. I just dropped a absolute steals top 5 underrated players to buy video. If you want to check that out in our archives. Fantasy Dog, it was nice seeing you. I appreciate you giving us a new subscribe. And yeah, we will close this one out. Ernie will be back with us in no time. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Me is looking counterfeit. I get done with one, then move right on to another bitch. Yeah.